What am I doing?
What we've been watching.
This is what we've been watching.
That's terrible. Like a jingle. You've got to do a jingle. It's not like it's the first time we've done this, Jim.
What we've been... What we've been watching...
So what we've been
Can
watching?
we dubstep that? What we've been watching... Looking backwards.
Like Hans Zimmer dubstep.
I watched a film the other night. Well, I kind of faded in and out of it. And I would
Sounds
say
good.
This film tried to kind of do a Wes Craven, early 70s like revenge films, kind of like Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left kind of thing. And it's called Landmine Goes Click. Almost a really good film if it was just directed a little bit better. The acting was a little bit better, and I think if all those key elements were there in place, you know, yeah, and there's a rape scene in it, of course, but it's just overkill.
Is it a rape scene where somebody's kind of stood on a landmine and then they get raped?
Close.
Talk about a bad day. You stand on a landmine and you're like, help, help, and then this rapist comes up and goes, I'll help you.
Imagine you're the guy on a landmine and it's your girlfriend being raped.
Ooh!
I don't think they've really done it that well, but I enjoyed and I
like the
respected
potential of the
what
concept.
it could have become.
For me, sometimes those kind of failed films where they've got a great concept, I'd much rather watch those than perfectly done film done really well or even technically better.
Like the storyline was great, you know. It's that thing we can all relate to. Like, what would you do? I mean, if you're on a landmine and somebody you love's being brutally raped, I mean, even if you got off the mine, you couldn't help it because you've been fucking bits. So what do you do?
Landmine Goes Click. I can't wait for the sequel.
Yeah.
Landmine Goes Boom!
That was on Netflix. And another film I watched from 2015 was Hidden. Yeah, so directed by the Duffer Brothers, who brought you Stranger Things. It's a post-apocalyptic film. They escape this worldwide virus threat that's just wiping out people. There's like chaos, the army's involved and blowing up, and they seek refuge in this bomb shelter. Well-written script, really well-directed, good characters in there.
Can you see where Stranger Things came from? Was there, or is it feel like a completely separate kind of
overall, it's very simplistic. In the sense, I suppose, in the first season of Stranger Things, I went on about simplistic group of kids, evil scientists, very simple, and it's kind of the same thing here. I forgot what they call the things above the surface, the danger of being seen, and good tension, good tense moments, and yeah, very
so where can
very
we
well
catch
written.
Where can we
That,
catch
again, that, yeah, I dare say Amazon Prime, or pick up a DVD off eBay or Amazon or whatever. That stars Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, another Skarsgård.
Pennywise's brother.
You got a thing for the Skarsgård.
They've done some good stuff.
Fantastic Mexican double bill of recent films. We Are the Flesh, out on Arrow Video.
All right, yeah.
And The Untamed, out on Arrow Films. Makes me wonder what's going on in Mexico, whether there's something in the water. They're both...
It is fucking in Mexico.
Yes! Sexy sexuality merges with horror. And I watched it as a double bill, which, yeah, made me, a little bit concerned for the people in Mexico. Very different films. So We Are the Flesh is kind of like a crazy abstract art film, which sets up the idea that a brother and sister in post-apocalyptic world kind of take cover in this giant building which is already lived in by this crazy homeless guy, and then he makes them do weird stuff to each other, to him and everything, and it just gets more and more amazingly shot. I mean, visuals and everything. There's like a section of the film which it basically takes place in like heat camera, like heat vision.
Ooh, Predator style.
Yes, kind of, but sexy Predator.
Sexual Predator style.
Timely. Then the other film, The Untamed, is shot very realist style. Hentai for beginners.
Right.
Do you know hentai?
Hentai, yeah.
I won't go into it. I'll put a link in of, you know, like safe for work. Maybe Wikipedia's got an article on what hentai is. It's almost as if the horror hentai element is just a subplot. It's really about like the relationship between husband and wife and her brother. Extraterrestrial, supernatural element.
Okay.
is barely features in it. But when it does feature, it's pretty messed up. I mean, with the...
Wow!
Yeah, Mexico, what's happening? I don't recommend watching them back to back because my head was fried, and not in a good way. And then I had to pick up my kids from school, and it was just like, oh. Arrow had a sale, 5 for 30, so I had a bit of free time. So I sat down and I cracked through my 5 for 30. Watched a lot of Giallo. Arrow released amazing Giallo, and like watched all the extras on there as well. Your Vice is a locked room and only I have the key.
Okay.
Sergio Martino, fantastic film. Great package from Arrow as well. I mean, Arrow, if you want to sponsor us, we love what you're doing.
We'll just wear Arrow gear.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll accept free t-shirts, that's cool. He did 2 films pretty much back to back. I think there was another one in between. The first one was The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, and then Your Vice is a locked room and only I have the key, which is a fantastic title. Kind of more gothic, pastoral, Italy rather than the kind of like urban giallo of Dario Argento.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one I watched, which was part of the deal as well, was The Bloodstained Butterfly, which is quite an obscure one, but again, Arrow put out a lovely package. It is giallo, but it's very atypical giallo in that it's more of kind of police procedural meets courtroom drama, which you don't tend to get. It tends to be more like the detective work of somebody who's not part of the police. This one has like loads of different characters, so it hasn't really got a central character, and it kind of rotates around like these 3 different characters. And in a way that helps, because you're never quite sure who's guilty. Who is the killer? Because in giallo films, there's always the wronged person, and you tend to follow them, right? They're the ones who've been framed. They're the initial suspect, but then you follow them, and therefore, as an audience, you know it's not them. This one takes a different tack, so it doesn't stick with one of those characters long enough, so you're never quite sure who the killer could be until the very end. It does interesting things with kind of flashbacks and everything. So kind of like, have you ever seen Rashomon, like the Japanese film from the 50s? It's like the same crime is committed but told in different ways, so it looks different each time. And so you have flashbacks to people saying, oh well, I saw, witnesses saying, oh this is what I saw, and then you see it. So then you assume because you're seeing it on screen, that is what happens. But then it changes each time as you speak to a different witness. So really well done, like very intricately crafted, like the script for that, fantastic. Another Arrow one, which actually made me feel good, early films of David Cronenberg.
Oh yeah.
Made me feel good because if you're ever feeling bad, down as a filmmaker, and you kind of go, oh, my stuff is watch the early films of Cronenberg, I mean the really early shorts, and you'll feel much better. The very first one he ever did was called Transfer. Now I appreciate, back in the day, shooting on actual film, recording, actual sound and everything like that, on location or whatever, I'm sure was a challenge. But oh my god, it's unrecognisable to see his early stuff and then see where he ended up, even like his very early features. Like Shivers and Rabbit and all of that. Again, amazing package by Arrow. Glad to have seen it all, but it was one where I was just like, I don't need to watch that again. And they're very, I'm going to be generous and say, art house, avant-garde.
Oh, it's a nice way to put it in.
Yeah.
I tell you what though, let's get our stuff on a DVD and Blu-ray and compare it. But what's great about that though, is you can see a very prolific filmmaker, his early stuff, and see that kind of
the progression. That's it.
Onto the feature, onto more awesome films.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a massive Cronenberg fan. I really like his early features.
Was it horror? Was it that body horror stuff that he usually did?
No. I mean, the 2 features...
More traditional horror kind of stuff.
No. I'd say the shorts are like more kind of art house abstract.
Maybe more horror elements to it?
Not really. Maybe comedy. I'm not sure if it's intentional. Stereo and Crimes of the Future, which are kind of like the 2 ones which are technically features, but only just, are better, and they're interesting, and there's kind of more of a sci-fi element to them, but still hard work. Yeah, I mean, even 60 minutes, it felt like a lot longer. And those ones you start to see what he's interested in. Certain themes kind of come through. There's quite a bit of overlap between Crimes of the Future with, say, The Brood, you know, and his idea about science and the body and all of that.
Yeah.
No body horror per se, but more psychological kind of stuff. Interesting. Never going to watch it again.
I have to check them out.
Again, some great extra features from Amara on it. Probably I enjoyed the extra features more than the films themselves. Over on Amazon Prime, because I also have an Amazon Prime account, but don't watch it that much. And I've got to say,
good stuff on there.
There's some, but one I would recommend seeing, which there was a lot of hype about a couple of years ago. Good Night Mommy. It's about twin boys. And their mum comes home after having some sort of surgery on her face, so she's covered in bandages. And the boys get it in their head, rightly or wrongly, that this woman isn't their mother. It had really mixed reviews. But for me, the negative reviews seem to be more along the lines of, oh, why didn't they take it in this direction instead? And for me, that's not the point. You know, it's how well they did, you know, the story that they were they were telling. And I thought it was really well done. Some really creepy visuals. You're not sure who to side with. You're not sure whether you should side with the kids and kind of accept the fact that this isn't the mum, or should you side with the mum who's getting upset that her kids don't recognise her? And it kind of maintains that balance through the film.
I like films that don't have a protagonist and set out in stone.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the kids at certain points you could just think are being little
yeah.
And then there are certain points where you kind of think the mum, she's just being a class A and if they just learn to communicate, everything would be okay. But then no horror films would ever exist if everybody...
It's like the whole season, every season of Sons of Anarchy, if they just stopped lying and just spoke to each other...
And give each other a hug.
Yeah, exactly. Then you probably have one season, it probably would finish like Little House on a
Darkened Rooms is a South Wales-based secret cinema-esque event. So they take classic films, sometimes in the loosest sense of the word classic, and screen them in specific locations. They started off about 4-5 years ago with a screening of The Shining in the Angel Hotel, which is this fantastic old school hotel in Cardiff city centre. Amazing. They showed it in the ballroom. It was the perfect kind of atmosphere to watch it in. Recently they showed Akira, the classic 90s manga anime, in Kong's Bar, which is this fantastic place which I was looking for an excuse to go to. It's basically a bar / club filled with arcade machines.
Noodle it!
I don't even care, mate.
Get my Pac-Man on!
It was where, do you remember Charlie Brown's? We've had a number of rap parties in Charlie Brown's, the basement club on St. Mary Street. Yeah, arcade club, decent priced beer, and watching Akira in that environment was fantastic. I hadn't seen Akira for a few years, and seeing it on the, not big screen, because there were several big screens, they kind of just showed it on loads of different walls. What was really cool about it was that I'd never really picked up watching it on video or DVD in the past, was how powerful the score is. The score is fantastic throughout the film. There's the opening of the film which has this very kind of percussion heavy start to it. Fantastic. And then there are these bits later on which almost seem like Zimmer might have been inspired by it, these bass notes and these choral voices going through it as well. But just almost kind of pull you out of the film, but for effect. I'm not the biggest anime fan. There are certain anime films I could watch all the time, and I know Akira's kind of held up as, you know, the mainstream big one, but there's a reason why it's so well done.
I don't think I've seen it.
You've not seen Akira? Oh. I mean, I just want to say thank you to Darkened Rooms and Tom Betts who puts on the Darkened Room events. It's a lot of fun. I watched the other ones they put on, which I've been along to, is they did Alien, the original Alien in Techniquest, watching it in this laser dome kind of thing. I happen to know it's a lot of effort. They put, Tom puts a lot of work into it. Obviously, firstly securing the rights to show the films, and then pairing it with the perfect location and working with that. Because obviously a lot of these locations are not really built for showing films in. But he does a great job. Akira, again, was probably another highlight of things I saw on the big screen this year, even though it's an older film. We love you, Hans.
Great to watch.
Hans. You're my second favourite Hans after Gruber.
That's Solo.
That's just Han, isn't it?
Is that from Han Solo?
No.
Is it Han?
Han. No, it's Han.
Oh.
H-A-N. Solo. It's not two S's.
I thought it was.
been.
Yeah, oh, that was kind of it, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but we can do the jingle and then using the magic of editing.
Oh, right.